Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Performance E Streaming. It is Thursday night, and that means one thing. It is time for the ANZCAR Thunder. Sorry, not the ANZCAR Thunder, the ANZCAR Cup even. There we go. My brain is absolutely switched on as ever. I am Mr. Carl Wilkinson with you up here in the booth tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. I am joined by Mr. Mark Jansen. Mark, how you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. Looking forward to tonight's race. Points are close and last chance for some of these guys, mate.
Absolutely. It is the last chance saloon tonight, the final race of the regular season. So taking a victory here tonight could lock you in to the playoffs, of course. There are a few drivers battling for points as well, so plenty at stake. We're also joined by Mr. Matt Hunter. Matt, how you going, mate?
Yeah, going good. Looking forward to this points battle indeed. I'll throw these points up on the screen so people can see, and then I'll get you run through them if you like, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a slight change as well to the playoff standings because Toby Stent has withdrawn, unfortunately, due to personal life issues after the birth of a youngster. But we wish everything well for Toby and his new family as well. We hopefully will see him back early next season. But that has shaken things up a little bit in the standings and given an extra spot to the playoffs. In the championship standings, it is Dyson, of course, locked in with Pearson, Hederscheid, Jai Schultz, and Ruben Phelps. Lachlan Urquio ahead on the points. He's pretty much locked himself in with Dave Douglas and Raymond Yeager. The main battle is for Carol Walden and Curtis. Joshua Carol Walden's looking fairly good. He just has to score a couple of points to get himself through. But this is Daytona. Anything can happen. Of course, Riley Curtis, he is the man with everything to lose tonight. He could easily find himself dropping outside of those points. Norman Clark just 4 points away with Cody Jordan 8 points down, Tomlin 11 points down, and then Nankervis and Williams 42 points down. They are outside shots. They could possibly do it, but they need everything to fall in their place. Well, we are about to get ready. The cars are going to start lining up here at Daytona for this, the final round of the regular season. It is round 26 of 36 here tonight, and taking pole position is Mr. Raymond Yeager, taking pole tonight for Pinnacle Esports. Great job from him. Shane Bowen starting on the outside just beside him, one of his highest starting positions as well. Jai Schultz, Jamie Nankervis make up our second row. It's Daniel Hederscheid and Dave Douglas on row number 3. Watch out for Dave Douglas. He is an expert on super speedways. Row number 4 sees Matty Ray next to Norman Clark. Ryan Jones, Neil Pearson make up row number 5. On the 6th row tonight, it's Alexander Sheridan and Kobe Jordan. Lachlan Urquio and Brenton Henderson making SRM row number 7. Dyson and Otto on row number 8. Ruben Phelps is next to Paul Drady on the 9th row. Christopher Tomlin and Tristan Koch make up row number 10. JCW and Stevie Dub on row number 11 tonight. Christopher Ireland new to face to the Cup for DPR next to Brad Fenley on row number 12. Philip Worley returning in row 13 with Riley Curtis. And another returning driver back after some health issues. It's great to see him back. Noddy Tompkins in the 80 for SRM. Great to see that car back out on track.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see him back out on track. Just a quick one, guys. As you may know, the inside lane's done it to us again. They've come to their week 13 and they've changed some paint schemes around. And I believe the number 27 of Jai Schultz is running a little message or something. I can't actually quite see it in regards to our friend Toby Stent. Believe it's a wishing him well type thing, and prayers are with him.
Absolutely. Wishing the new little Tommy well indeed, and running the colours of Toby Stent. A very nice thing to do for Jai Schultz. Very nice looking car as well. And we love the community. It's one of the things that we always talk about, and I've been affected by this as well, touched by it as well. Very great community we've got here. When racing on track flares, tempers will flare, and you will get grumpy to people. But when you're off track, if anything happens, they are the first to back you up. It's always good to see. Well, we are about to get rolling here at Daytona. It is a super speedway, of course. Coming round the final set of corners on to the front straight. Was just going to quickly look at the temperature. 23-degree track temperature, 21-degree air temperature. That's going to go down a little bit as the night runs on. So we look forward to that one. And good evening to that man, Toby Stent, as well. He is actually watching us tonight. So good to see indeed. We wish him all the best with everyone there and hopefully see him back out on track. But we are going to go green. I'm going to shut up. Let's enjoy these cars roar away here at Daytona. But as the 27 strong car field thunder their way around this iconic circuit for the first time tonight, we get our first lap of green racing underway, starting to form two lines at the moment. The high line's dropped back a little bit. The low line is very nicely linked up. It's Raymond Yeager in the lead with Jai Schultz, Daniel Hedershide, Shane Bowen, Dave Douglas, Jamie Nankervis, Matty Ray up on the high side. Jamie Nankervis leading that charge. He has got Norman Clark just behind him. The two Black Arrows cars working together, but they've not got much support up there at the moment. Everybody's dropping low in the early stages here.
Well, we've seen last night, Carl, in the Thunder series of the Xfinity, that outside line took a fair while to come in, and I think it was around lap 20 where that outside line really started to work.
Yeah, you've got to get it's almost like you've got to warm everything up, get everything just chugging along. And that's sort of what's happening at the moment. I think there's quite a few drivers that are just not wanting to go too hard at the moment. There's some idiots setting off fireworks in the background. Sorry for that. But they're just going to work it out. Just take a couple of moments just to get settled in. Of course, pack racing is one of those things you just want to get settled in for the early stages and get some rhythm going.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've seen the points tonight, so there's could be a lucky person that comes through and gets this win from nowhere, and seals themselves into the playoffs. But you know, there's some teammates out there, and I'm quite sure some opposition teams have done a deal and trying to work together to get one of these guys that are close secured in that playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. We see quite a few smaller teams out there, and I'm sure they're going to be working together and just sort of going, "Yep, we'll trade some knowledge for you and try and work this out if we can work together in the pack sentiment." Because there are a couple of big super teams out there. Of course, DPR, they've got a fair few cars up their sleeve. So have Natari with Black Arrows, and of course, don't forget SRM, the Mobile Brake and Mechanical team. They have got quite a few cars in their group tonight, so they could be in for a good shout at the moment as well.
Look, we don't play favourites up here in the booth, but the one person, and I hope I don't put the mocker on him, is that I would like to see get through, and because he's done really well this year, and especially surprised us a little bit on the road circuits, and that's the number 83, Matty Raymond. He's up there in that top 10 at the moment. So let's see if he can pull something out of the bag and get a win tonight.
A little bit happening at the back of the pack. One of the DPR cars, Christopher Ireland, getting very, very loose, very, very wobbly there. Broken the pack up a little bit. I think maybe just had a bit too much draft behind Stevie W. There was a bit of a checkup actually. So there was a bit of a checkup, and that's caused that whole back of the pack to spread at the moment. And they've got to be careful they don't drop off the rest of the field. They're just sitting behind JCW at the moment by, well, just about a second, and that's about the point where you're going to start losing the draft, and you can see that gap starting to grow a little bit. They need to work together very, very quickly so they don't lose the rest of that pack.
Yeah, they really need to form one lane and get right you can see there Stevie Dubb trying to push Island along, right up under that tail.
Yeah, bump drafting is an all-important skill, and it's not an easy thing to do. These cars are not the easiest to bump draft in as well. The current Cup car, it's not as easy to get as correct as other cars. If you're just slightly off, you can very easily unsettle the rear of these things, and you'll end up having a big old spin. So you've got to be very, very knowledgeable and just very confident in the bump drafting in this car to get it right and get it absolutely nailed, as we just saw them nailing there. But it's looks like they've actually done that. They've settled into a single file line now and are starting to try and close that gap. They need to really work together because they will drop off quite quickly. It's amazing how quickly you slip down and start to just fall as you lose that draft pack. It's almost like hitting the wall of air, and you just can't get any speed out of the car.
Oh, eight laps in the book, and Raymond Jager's still out in the front, followed by Josh Schultz and Daniel Hederscheid. So that's your top three. Dave Douglas is continuing on with the great run from last night. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys can actually gap a little bit.
Yeah, very much so, Dave, taking victory last night in the Thunder. And look, you can never discount Dave Douglas on a super speedway. He's one of the best pushers out there, but he is also a wily veteran as well. He knows what to do to get the victories, and he knows what to do to help other people get the victories as well. Great person to work with if you can get it out there. Big mention as well to Josh Micklemore as well, taking his 400th start this week for ANZCAR. And he did it in style on Monday night by taking victory in the trucks. So congratulations to Mr. Josh Micklemore. We hope to see him back in the Cup car at some stage with Mitch Motorsport.
Yeah, it's a little bit bare without those boys in the Cup cars, but got plenty of other good drivers out there tonight, and everyone behaving themselves so far. We've it's good to see. Everyone's just settled down, and it's a long race, 80 laps. So our fuel range tonight, Carl, our little bird has come up and told me between 27 and 32 laps on fuel. So be interesting to see if anyone makes some stable changes through this race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark, and that's a good point to bring up. Of course, this is we technically run a fixed setup for the series, but it is a fixed open setup, which means drivers can change things like tyre pressure and the bump value on the suspension in their pit stop, so they can do a little bit of tweaking. And look, on a super speedway, there's not much you can do other than adding a load of tape, and that can't be done, unfortunately. But you can make the car a little bit more manageable, make it a little bit more friendly, and reduce some of that rolling resistance as well by putting a little bit more pressure in those tyres, and that can help you just with a couple of millimeters of extra speed. It's not much, but it can be the difference at a place like this.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I've been given a little bit of insight. A couple of teams are going to lower the left sides, and then there's other teams that are going to lower the left sides, pump the right front up, and then have the right rear in between the two pressures. So, some strange changes going to be made, and we'll see who gets on top of it.
And they would have been practicing with those with those setups and seeing what works, what doesn't work, and what will work best as well, of course, because we are going into night time as well, so track temperature will be going down. That means you don't have to worry too much about tyre temperature. Not that it's a big issue at Daytona. Of course, the super speedways are not very rough on tyres, in all honesty. It's usually a fuel thing in these cars. That back of the pack has managed to close up. They've done a good job of closing the gap up. So they have managed to get themselves into one big line. Stevie Dubb at the moment at the back of the pack. Nolly Tompkins, unfortunately, he's dropped off the pack, and he is lapping out there on his lonesome. And that's going to be a long night unless a caution comes soon.
Yeah, definitely. Once you lose that pack, as you said, Carl, it's a hard road back. And what Noddy really needs at the moment is a caution to close that gap right up. Otherwise, he's just going to keep dropping. And may find himself a lap down, because with this pack the way it is, they'll catch him within 5 laps.
Yeah, they are absolutely eating the gap down, and it's a fairly big difference in speeds as well. Noddy's going around about 250 kilometers per hour, leaders around about 270. And that's the difference when you're in a pack and when you're not in a pack. It is just such a huge difference. And of course, you're going around there using up more fuel as well on your own, and not getting any benefits from it. It is such a sorry state to be. Somebody else that's using up a lot of fuel is Raymond Jaeger. He is currently the spear at the moment, leading the pack. He's still got Jai Schultz behind him with Daniel Hederscheid, Dave Douglas, and Shane Bowen. But Raymond Jaeger's been pretty happy up the front of the pack tonight, just leading it up there and keeping himself out the front. But that's going to mean he's going to be using fuel a little bit more than those cars, 3 or 4 cars back in the pack. And he'll have to come down the lane a little bit sooner, and that could really cost him. If we have a green race here, of course, those people with teams, and if they can work it together and get a good pack going through the lane at the same time, they could really stretch out an advantage.
Yeah, definitely just seeing down the back that some I think it's Ryan Jones. Yes, Ryan Jones has decided to have a run up on the high line, and he's out there by himself. He's just dropping back into that low line now, so he's made up a couple of spots with that little bit of a run.
Yeah, leapfrogging here and there. A few people trying some different moves through the pack. It's pretty much a single lane race at the moment. We have got a couple of cars down the back just thinking about trying to make a secondary pack. Phil Otto and Stevie Dub, I think. So they're just sort of trying to get a second line forming. And if they can get that formed and get a really good draft, they could find themselves shooting up alongside the leaders. But not too much at the moment. There's very little cooperation. Not many people wanting to run a second line at the moment. They're all pretty happy running the single file and keeping on.
Yeah, and we can see now that Noddy Tompkins is really going to come under pressure here in a minute. They're not that far behind him, probably only 2 or 3 seconds, if that. So in the next lap or so, he'll find himself a lap down.
I'd say in the next straight, it won't be long because those cars will go flying past as Noddy drops down below the line, gets out of the racing line for everybody, and he's going to try and jump back up and get himself on the back of this pack. And he's going to come up just in the midsection there and loop himself into that group. He was running out of road there, unfortunately. It's one of the things when you drop down low to sort of give way to a whole pack of cars, you don't realise just how long it is. It takes up that whole straight, and you find yourself getting into the corner very, very quickly, and you've got to get yourself back up there somehow, otherwise you can have a big old wreck. And he manages to slot himself in. Everybody was very polite and made way, and everybody is back in their group. So we've now got 27 cars all in a line at the moment. All our cars still running, no incidents yet. We are on lap 17 of 80, 63 to go here tonight. And, everybody's behaving very well in this early stage.
Yeah, definitely very, very well mannered. But I think that will change at around lap 60 or 65, where we're into that last quarter of the race. And we may see the big one come, but we normally do, but it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, look, racing drivers can only take so much sitting behind another car. Eventually they get bored of it and go, yep, I want to be leading. I want to be at the front of this. And then we will start to see them all battling away and really putting on the moves and trying to get themselves up the pack a little bit. I wonder if we're going to see Jaeger try and drop back a little bit as well, or if he's going to just stay up the front of the pack and leading, because he's going to be using up quite a bit more fuel up there. Of course, he's the buffer and breaking that big hole into the air, and that is going to be costing him a fair amount of fuel.
Yeah, and we can see again on the high line, Ryan Jones has got some great speed in that car, in that Chevrolet. Wondering if he's going to have anyone join him up there on that high line, because this is now the time where if you want to get that outside line working, it's now the time to do it.
Yeah, I think they're going to start. It looks like there's a little bit of action down towards the back of the pack again. A few people just starting to think about it. Phil Otto, Stevie Dub, and Paul Drady now just starting to work their way up on the high line. And if they get themselves linked up and get themselves scooching along the side, get a little bit of draft, they could work their way up. And as soon as they start making progress, as soon as they start getting some momentum and working their way forward, they'll be joined by other people. As soon as people see that you've got a fast line happening, everybody else will jump on board and want to take part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking for the best time at the moment, and by the look of it, it is. I did have it.
Philip Worley with a 45.651 at the moment.
And he's buried down the back of the field at the moment too.
Look at this high line now. They are starting to fly, and I reckon this is going to be a new faster lap coming in because he's got that momentum. And look, it's one of the strange things about a super speedway, isn't it, Mark? You know, the fastest car is not always at the front because you tend to get that big draft happening and just gaining speed and flying yourselves up. And now we're starting to see the pack break up. Jaeger's jumped up to the high line. He is looking to try and jump onto the front of this pack of charging cars, and they're coming up at a great rate of knots. Jaeger decides to cut that line off, jumps up there and stops that line's momentum a little bit, and this has caused everybody to have a bit of a spread out. Jai Schultz now in the lead, but that high line's starting to get the momentum back and starting to chug along.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you pull up there by yourself and you got a fast pack closing in. They just have to lift that fraction off the loud pedal, and that will slow them down just enough to let that bottom line get a bit of a run and put a bit of a gap there. But as you said, Carl, we can see them now starting to get back up to speed. Just looking at Raymond, and sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I work in the old miles system. He's still sitting at 190 mile an hour, so. But we just see there now he's made a hole for himself to drop back into that low line.
Yeah, he saw that high line coming and thought, this is the time, pack's going to spread out a little bit, I'm going to drop back because I need to start thinking about some fuel saving, because he's been leading for about 21 laps and using a lot of that fuel. Now he's dropped back in a good position to start saving a little bit, and you see that top line is just absolutely just stalled out of momentum. Now there's only 4 cars with him. The rear guard Ryan Jones at the moment trying to make that work. He's been wanting this high line to form all race long. It's finally here, but he hasn't got the backup that he needs at the moment.
Yeah, look, don't be surprised if we see Jamie Nern-Curvis jump out of that low line and maybe join that high line. And well, Norman Clark's left it a little bit too late. 3 cars back from Jamie Nern-Curvis in the 09 car. But that outside line, Carl, has definitely stalled. That definitely needs a few more cars up there to get that working again.
Yeah, it's a big thing. You've got to get the cars in the line to make it work. Otherwise, it just does not get the speed. And as much as you try, you do struggle. Everybody leaving a bit of a gap as well. They're not really going full push at the moment. There's no bump drafting going on. Everybody's just happy as it is. But you can start to see the cars are starting to wobble a little bit. They're starting to get a little bit leery out there now, getting in 24 laps. And track temperature is going to be going down a little bit. Tyre temperature will be creeping up a tiny bit. Fatigue will start setting in later in the race. But it's always at this stage where the cars start to get a little bit light as well because you're using up that fuel in the tank. So the car gets a little bit lighter, and often you'll find in a pack the car will get a little bit wobbly left and right just as you're going along. And it's just not as stable as it was in the beginning stages.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll have to keep an eye on the pit stops too, because if we see the cars go up on the jack, we know that they've made a tyre pressure change more than likely. Guys that are happy with the way the cars are will just probably take fuel on this first stop in pit lane for service.
Especially if it's a green flag stop, it is well worth just taking fuel only because that's going to save you crucial seconds down the lane. Every millisecond counts when you're making those pit stops, and you've got to be absolutely picture perfect to get it done as well, because you can lose so much time on super speedway just coming through the lane. Of course, dropping down to the speed limit, making you stop in the box, you're going to lose a lap from that alone. and then you've got to get back out there and back up to speed. So there's so much that happens, and if you find yourself all out there on your own, then you lose so much speed as well, and you lose so much time too. So it's a real tricky thing to get it right, and you tend to have a big old race when it comes to green flag stops, and it really does shake things up.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking down the field and seeing our what would you call him? The driver with the most wins this year, sitting down in 21st spot, Andrew Dyson. Now, I do know that he's not a fan of the super speedways, but he's still thereabouts, and he'll try and get Pearson to the front or link up with Stevie Dubb a little bit later on in this race, and try and push him to the race win too. At the moment, Stevie Dubb's up there on that high line, running in that pack of three with Phil Otto and Paul Drady.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably the closest thing we've got to an Achilles heel of Andrew Dyson as a super speedway. Saying that though, he has won on super speedways a few times. So
and look, we can see these little bit of a new paint scheme. I know that they came in a little bit a few weeks ago, but I've got to say I do like the plain black numbers on those DPR cars. It really stands out, especially on the red and the orange and the green of Stevie Dubb.
yeah, absolutely. It just becomes problematic if Darren Lobb's in the race with the black DPR car. Super
But
stealth mode.
Even Philip Worley with the purple on the car, the number really pops, and that's what makes our job a little bit easier at a quick glance, where we can say, oh, we know who that is because the number really stands out.
Yeah, it does make life a lot easier to grab a number, grab a paint job, and sort of, especially when you're half glancing at things, because we've got about 4 different screens that we look at as we're commentating at a minimum, and sometimes you sort of glance over and you sort of see something happening and you go, oh wait. What I'm waiting to have happen though is, of course, something with Jai Schultz and me go, and Toby Stent's had a huge moment there.
Unfortunately, Brad Finley's just dropped off that pack a little bit himself. Christian Koch. Oh, Jai Schultz in pit lane this time by.
Okay, pit stops are starting to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very sedate 29 laps here tonight. It's been a very nice, easy start. Nice green start to the race with a green car in the lead. And now it's starting to get crazy because pit stops are happening. Get on the brakes nice and early. Got to get the car stopped. Don't lock them up. Get it slowed down to about 98 kilometers per hour in the lane.
Yeah, that's sorry, Carl. That's the 3 inside lane production cars in pit lane together. So they are definitely going to try and work together.
Yeah, they're going to try and link up. They just need to get this time to perfection, get themselves back out on track and link each other up as well. I imagine we're going to see a whole heap more cars.
Jaeger's in this lane.
We should see a big load coming into the lane now, Mark. As you said, Jaeger's going to be coming in. I'm sure a few others will be following him.
Yeah, well, I Phil Otto in. I'm just listening to the radio. Brad Finley in. Phil Otto in. No, Brad's pulled a Swifty and stayed out, made a liar of me. I gotta love these race car drivers. But we can see. Sorry, mate. We can see one of the DPR, Stevie Dubbs in, Phil Otto, and I'm not sure who that second car, that red and black car is.
Oh, it's under Sheridan.
Sheridan, is it? Okay, thank you, guys. So Daniel Hedderscheid in this lap. Jamie Nankervis in this lap. So you're right, Carl. They're all coming in, and our little bird has not lied to us tonight. We are right in that pit window where the guys are running short on fuel.
That's it, and you can see who's been fuel saving, who's been sitting down the pack. They've stayed out. Now we've got a whole heap of cars coming in to the lane again. It looks like everyone's doing a great job tonight so far of getting the car in. And this time there's a big group of them. Shane Byrne, Jamie Nankervis, Josh Carroll, Brad Finley, Paul Drady, Tristan Koch and Daniel Hedderscheid all in the lane. Dave Douglas now out in the lead of the race. keeping himself up the front of the pack. We've got 12 cars out there that haven't stopped yet, but I imagine it won't be long until they come down the lane.
Yeah, it's definitely Norman Clark in this lap. So it's going to be interesting to see who can get the best mileage. And we can just go back to the live shots there on Matty Ray and Dave Douglas. So Matty Ray just leaning on the rear of Dave. So we've got about a dozen cars remaining out there that haven't stopped yet. So look at this gaggle of cars. DPR cars, Dave Douglas car, one Black Arrows car.
All coming into the lane, and a couple of moments there for a couple of people, but they've all got in nicely again. Looks like everybody's making some good stops here tonight. SRM keeping it out there though. Matty Ray, Brenton Henderson, Lachlan Oakwood, Ruben Phelps, they've managed to keep it out there. Neil Pearson and Andrew Dyson as well, and they have moved themselves up into the lead of this race. They were sitting right at the back of the pack all night long, so I imagine they have been fuel saving heavily, and you can see they're bump drafting heavily for Pearson and Dyson there. They are trying to get as much time as they can in this final little stage as Dyson and Pearson bring it into the lane. On the brakes late. We've seen some expert pit stops from DPR in the past. They are very good at getting through the lane quickly. So are SRM. The Mobile Braking Mechanical team are very quick too. Who can be the winner in the race off pit lane between these two teams?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because if they don't all get out together, that's definitely going to split those two teams up.
Seeing quite a few people swapping some tyres, doing some tweaks here, there, changing things up. Dyson gets away first. He's going to pull out in the lead. And then it's the SRM team. SRM doing a great job to come out in unison there. All four of their cars stuck together like perfection. And here comes the rest of the pack. They've got to get up to speed quickly because there is a whole heap of cars coming very, very fast now, being led by Daniel Hederscheid. And they are going to fly their way through and take themselves into the lead of that group. But up the front, the leaders are going to be DPR. It's Andrew Dyson and Neil Pearson absolutely getting that pit stop done well. Now they've got to get themselves up to speed because that big train of cars is going to swallow them up. Latari leading with that one. Daniel Hederscheid and Joshua Carroll Walding pushing each other along, bump drafting each other up on the high side. They go past the DPR cars. Now DPR has linked themselves up with Christopher Island on the low line. But it is Natari taking the lead of the race after the first set of pit stops.
Great to see. You know, we've seen JCW just sit back there and save that little bit of fuel, and he's been able to work his way back up onto the back of his teammate Daniel Hederscheid. And it's great to see Daniel back out in the lead. He's not had the best of weeks in the past few, but we can see him now showing his true colours and leading this Daytona race.
Absolutely, and he'd love to fix the end of the regular season with a victory for one of these guys, and it would be extra special for JCW because that would lock him in to the playoffs as well. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, there is plenty of action because there's a second group of cars being led by SRM at the moment. Matty Ray leading that second pack, flying through, and they're going to try and close the gap. They've got about 2 seconds to make up though. So there is a fairly hefty gap, but there's a lot of cars in that train. So if they work together, if they don't race too hard, if they just keep working together, they should close up on this front pack once more and get themselves into position.
Yeah, definitely will. And we see Noddy there again doing the right thing, calling out on the race radio that he's going to stay high. He's only 2 laps down, unfortunately, but he's the only car that has been lapped so far. And should we get a caution, we will see him gain one of those laps back.
Yeah, it's been a very, very well-behaved race so far. 37 laps in, no cautions. Everybody been racing well and fairly. You've got to say, there's not been any big major moves and major blocks so far. They're just being calm, and I'm sure that will change in about 35 laps time once all hell kicks off. But so far being very well behaved. Big movers and shakers. JCW up 19 positions. He had a really good run in that stint. Riley Curtis, he's sitting back there and he's doing everything he can to get himself in the playoffs as well. in the RCD entry. And of course, big special shout out to one person for that beautiful paint job as well. No favouritism up here in the booth, but if you do slap the big Performance E-Streaming logo on the car, you do get extra coverage. But he's had a really good run, up 21 positions so far, and Christopher Island up 15 spots. He's managed to link himself together with the other two DPR cars. So we've got a trio of DPR cars there working together. So some really good stops for those green flag periods. And look, Christopher Island having a really good showing tonight. First Cup race as well. And I think made his ANZCAR debut on Monday night in the trucks. So still relatively new to ANZCAR and to the oval racing scene.
Yeah, he'll probably not the best track to have your first Cup race. He'll either survive or he'll get chewed up and spat out.
Well, you know, it makes it more interesting. You either survive and have a good night, or you don't. That's it. There's no in between on a super speedway.
That is so true.
As night creeps in here at Daytona Beach, Florida, and the lights come on, we are fully in darkness here for the race, and the front pack is still leading, but that gap is closing. So that big group of cars behind him is doing exactly what they need, being led by Matty Ray in the SRM car. He's got Brenton Henderson, Lachlan O'Quay and Ruben Phelps behind him. So 4 of the team cars locked up at the moment. They are sitting in very good position for this remainder of this race. And again, teammates can really come in to help you out in a race like this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking back at Shane Bowen and his teammate Alexander Sheridan, those Cobalt cars. As the lights come on, they are really popping out too with those paint scheme. That's some really good work done by these guys with their paint schemes. As we see, we see 3 of the SRM guys head to the High Line.
Yeah, the SRM team just had the monster of runs, setting the fastest lap of the race with a 45.261 because they got into about a second of the rest of the pack, and the draft kicked in fully, and you can see now all the cars are grouped together relatively well. There's a bit of a gap forming behind Raymond Yeager, down to Christopher Tomlin, but the rest of the cars are very linked up, and now we've got Dave Douglas leading the charge on the High Line, taking the lead of the race with Ryan Jones behind him. We know those two have worked together in the past, and again, Dave Douglas, one of those drivers that would love to get a victory and get himself absolutely locked in, although he should be fine on points. It's even better to get a victory next to your name to get into the playoffs. Ryan Jones just behind him. He's worked together, and Dave has given aid to Ryan Jones with a bit of pushing to get him across the line to get a victory. I wonder if we could see a bit of payback tonight, and Ryan doing the same for Dave.
Yeah, it would be good to see Dave lock himself into the playoffs. But as I said, you know, that car, the 83 car, Matty Ray, he's up there at the pointy end, so he'd definitely be looking, probably not so soon, but he wants to remain around that spot coming into the final pit stop, and hopefully getting himself into the playoffs too.
Still a lot to play for here, as we said, the end of the regular season, and we'll be heading into the playoffs next. And look, it's now time. I feel like the aggression levels are starting to get tweaked up a little bit, Mark. To you, they're starting to get a little bit more racy now. Yeah,
definitely. We can see, as we said, Carl, you know, earlier in the race, it takes a little time for this High Line to get going, but when we can get some good guys up there racing, we can see that High Line really move. But we've got 2 DPR cars now in position 3 and 4 on that low line, and position 5. So look out for those guys to try and push Natari and get themselves into the lead there.
Absolutely, they are all vying for this final victory of the regular season. They all want it dearly, and look, the race between the DPR drivers, Dyson and Pearson, and they want to try and be be the biggest winners, of course. There's going to be a big tricky catch up for Tyson, but Neil Pearson wants to get another victory next to his name and just go, look, Tyson, I've not lost it. I can still beat you. So they are going to be racing hard. A little bit further back, Stevie Dubb is leading the charge for the second line at the moment. They're now working together nicely, and they might be able to close up the gap on the rest of the pack as they're running 2 by 2 at the moment. So they're just about to get in that sweet spot where they'll catch the draft, and Stevie Dubb will all of a sudden feel like he's got an extra 200 horsepower underneath the car. It's almost like switching on the NOS button. The car will go absolutely flying, start to gain at some really big speed, getting over 300 odd kilometers per hour, up to about 320 almost, and it's starting to happen now, speeding up all the way to about 317 and closing in on his teammate Philip Worley. So they are going to close that gap up very, very quickly once that engages, and you will see this line of cars come flying up. And which line will they choose to run with? Will it be the low line? Will it be the high line? Up to 324, 325 kilometers per hour for Stevie Dubb, and he has closed the gap up, and we've now got the rest of the field nice and close with each other, and everybody is back in the race. Ryan Jones has dropped down on the low line, is taking the lead of that position just ahead of Daniel Hederscheid. It's Dave Douglas up on the high line at the moment, and we are racing in 2 separate packs.
Yeah, well, that second pack is now joined on. Raymond Jager has dropped down in that low line, so Stevie Dubb will get the benefit of the draft now. Joy has just dropped off the back of Stevie a little bit, but Brad Finley making a move on the outside there in the VB car. It's a hard one to pick. Sometimes you want to stay in that low line, but you want to get that faster line, and we've seen Jager move back up to the high line. Now, if this was 10 laps to go, I'd be saying we'd probably be starting to see a third line try and form.
We might do, but we are seeing a third line at the moment because Paul Drady is about to go down a lap just as they go across the tri-oval. He's keeping himself nice and close to the wall, out of everybody's way. As it gets tight between himself and Otto, and he makes contact with the wall. He's just managed to hold it there. That was a nasty little moment. A good awareness from everybody there. Well done to everybody for holding that one, because that got very, very tight. That could have been a big accident there. Well done for Drady for keeping that car off, keeping that car from spinning.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Back out the front, we now have Dave Douglas out in front on that low line. He's decided to abandon that high line with the SRM boys and drop down the low line. He
has. And Riley Curtis up there as well. So Riley Curtis moving himself up into second as well. Riley, one of those drivers on the bubble for the playoffs, and he is going to be hoping to beat a few of these drivers tonight. Remember, it is between Carol Walden, Curtis Clark, Jordan Tomlin. Those are the main group that can be affected in tonight's race. Now Curvis and Williams, both with an outside chance of taking it through as well. But the big battle is between Curtis, Clark and Jordan. That's the real main battle that could really see somebody having a good night tonight, could see themselves getting in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it worked out, didn't it, that for Nick Curvis or Clark to make playoff, they really have to win tonight.
They have to win, and a few other people have a much worse night as well. So there's quite they've got to get quite a few things right, and a couple of people have got to get a few things wrong as well to get that one working. But they will keep on battling and see what they can do. Three
wide up the front in around the 9th position. So the gloves have come off here, I think, Carl. We're still a fair ways out from that checkered flag, but I think all the love is out the door, and we're going to go see some real racing here now.
With 30 laps to go, we are getting to that stage where, well, the final pit stop will be happening soon as well. These guys have done about 18 odd laps through this one, and it won't be long until they start thinking about making that final pit stop. Seeing what they can do for this final run to the flag. It is going to be fast and furious action here tonight at Daytona. And it's, of course, the ANZCAR Cup here on Performance eStreaming. We thank everybody for joining us here tonight. It is a pleasure to have you with us. We know there's many options out there, so joining us tonight makes us feel special. Thank you so much for that. If you can always hit the like button, subscribe, usual things, or feel free to have a comment as well. Let us know what's going on. We always appreciate it. It does help us reach a broader audience as well. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'll get back to the racing though, and it is Dave Douglas on the low line, leading out ahead of Riley Curtis and Ryan Jones. Up on the high line, it is an SRM train of Matty Ray. For Daniel Hederscheid there was going to take a look at running up a little bit high and jumping onto the front of that group. He was thinking about it, I'm sure. But SRM and Cobalt Racing train up there at the moment. Plenty of action to come here tonight.
Yeah, as you said, Carl, 30 laps to go, and I think the anger and the rage will go up from here. We've seen some very polite racing so far tonight. No cautions, green flag all the way so far. So in one way, let's hope we can see it remain green, but in another way, if we get a caution, it's really going to throw a spanner in the works and really jumble up this field.
Yeah, absolutely. We are just one moment away from the big one. It is a super speedway, and the big one is always lurking around the corner where you least expect it as well. You sometimes have them appearing as if from nowhere. Of course, green flag stops always increase the risk of a caution happening as well. There's always a few more chances of the caution flag flyers, people trying to get in pit lane, trying to get off pit lane. Mistakes can happen. There are all these little things that can come into play. 28 laps remaining. We are at that crucial point where they can make it home anytime from now. I wonder who's going to be the first group of cars to hit. That's going to be an interesting one to see. Who's going to take the gamble and who's going to stick it out there. I think in a race like this, you probably want to stick it out as long as possible, or at least as long as the rest of the pack does. You want to try and get in and out with the biggest pack possible.
Yeah, definitely. And also, if you remain out there and you do happen to get a bonus point, that's always a handy thing too. For leading a lap.
Sticking it out longer as well could see a caution fall in your favour as well. We've not seen any so far tonight, but as we said, it's a super speedway. You never know when they're going to appear. So always good to just be out in the right place at the right time. We've seen a little bit of a drop-off from Brad Finlay, Tristan Koch, and they've got Paul Drady for company back there as well. Those three cars sort of just fallen off the main pack a little bit, off the tail of Jamie Nankervis, who is the final car in that big group of cars, and I'm sure they'll be wanting to try and get themselves in a position where they can try and leapfrog themselves up, try and get a little bit closer to the rest of these guys and not lose the draft too much, because it's a horrible feeling when that pack is running away from you and you know you can't catch it. So they run 2 by 2 at the moment, as we've got the high line still formed, and the high line's not getting up to the front at the moment. They're just sitting back a little bit, sitting sort of about 3 cars back from the lead at the moment. So not running right up at the front of the field, and that's going to give a little bit of side draft, give a little bit of running. So it will be it's going to be interesting to see who comes in first. Remember, SRM, they stayed out as long as possible with DPR, so those two teams have been out for a long time. So that will make things interesting to see when they decide to pull it down the lane. Probably going to see the first pit stops coming in about 4 laps time, I would say. So we're about 4 laps off the first pit stops happening from the last schedule that we had. So it won't be long until we see the rest of the field trotting down the lane for their final stops here tonight at Daytona. And we will be going green, hopefully, to the very end. We've had a really solid race so far, Mark. Green flag so far for all 56 laps. 24 remaining, hopefully. Hopefully we can make it a green from start to finish.
Yeah, it'll be good to see. You know, we've been so close so many times through the season to get a. Well, I think we have. Well, I think we've had a few races from green to checkered. But if we get this right through to the checkered flag, it will be probably one of the Daytonas races I've witnessed that hasn't had a caution in it.
Yeah, look, it's always nice if you make a super speedway without any cautions. It's just a very tricky thing to do because it is such hard work behind the wheel. I know you know from experience, as well as myself from last night at least. We were racing the Xfinity cars here, and it does take an awful lot of concentration, lap in, lap out. You've got to really know what you're doing. It might look somewhat easy sometimes when you're watching from the outside. But when you're driving, you've got to be exactly on the right part of the throttle. You've got to constantly be turning the wheel at the right amount. You've also got to keep your eyes to the side, to the front, to the back of you as well. There's so much concentration going on in these cars. You, of course, have the spotters helping you out. Of course, in iRacing, we get the virtual spotters helping us out, letting us know what's going on. So if there's a car behind us or below us, so we know if we're clear or not. But you sometimes can't always rely on that, so you have to just take a little glance as well, just to make sure it's clear. You just need to keep your options open, so there's plenty still at work. And of course, these drivers are also having to do the strategy off the top of their head as well, so they're thinking about when they need to come in, what they're going to do for their strategy. If they're going to change anything in the pit stop, of course, we do around that semi-open setup. Of course, they can change pressures and bump in the pit stop. So I wonder if anybody's going to do a final adjustment as we get later into the night here. And that will, of course, mean a couple of tyres being thrown on. The later you leave it, of course, the less fuel you need in a tank. But you always want to make sure you've got enough to get yourself across the line if there's a green light checker. So we've got so many things at play here.
Yeah, definitely. Like last night, Carl, myself, just a slight lapse of concentration and misjudged where the car was on the outside of me, and that's seen me out of the race for the night. So it is very hard to concentrate and do what, as you were just saying, work out your strategy, work with your teammates, and really have to concentrate on everything around you. I don't know if it's time to jump on board and just let some of the spectators see what these guys in these lines can actually see.
Jump on board here. So we're on board with Andrew Dyson at the moment, sitting down in 8th position, and this is pretty much the view you're going to get. You can't see much at all. You're basically looking right in front of you, and you're looking through the windscreen of the car in front of you a lot of the time as well. You're effectively looking through their windshield to try and get an idea of what's happening, especially if you're really running close. There's a bit of a gap at the moment between himself and JCW, but when you really close up, and now you're starting to see it, there is very little you can see, and pretty much the only time you can see the rest of the field is when you're going through those corners. That's the only time you see cars ahead of you. The rest of the time, you're relying on everybody else around you. Just head over the comms as well for us up here in the comms booth. I think Co Jordan is going to be coming into the lane, so the inside lane production team is going to be coming in for their final stop. So we're going to start seeing some pit stops happening.
Yep, just Joy just come over. So we got the inside lane guys coming in. Brad Finley will be in this lap.
And once again, you've got to get into the lane, and this is always a hard thing. You're braking from about 200 kilometers per hour, getting the car slowed down. Of course, these things have steel brakes, which do not like to slow a car down. They might be called brakes. They might do what you expect from brakes, but they don't do it very well. They do slow the car down. You've got to be careful not to lock up in the lane, and then you've got to hit your pit box. And that is not always the easy thing as well. You need to know where your pit box is. You need to get the car in there perfectly. If you're too far left, too far back, too far forwards, you won't get serviced. So you've got to hit those marks to perfection. Of course, there's no speed limiter in these cars, so you've got to do it all by the revs, all by your judgment, and keep the car hovering on that speed limit. Get it in, get it out. Don't spin up the wheels too much on the exit, and get the car back out on track. Looks like everybody did a great job getting through the lane. Now the leaders are coming in. Douglas, Curtis, Jones, Natari coming in. A little bit of contact between the two Natari cars there. JCW and And Daniel Heddershide just making the slight bit of contact. And you've got to be so careful in the lane when you're coming in a big group like that. They made it through scot-free, though.
And we see the two Black Arrows car in pit lane too. Daniel Heddershire had to reverse up, so that's a little mistake by him. As I was just saying, the Black Arrows car, and they only took left, so interesting move.
Well, of course, tyre wear's not really a factor, so they're just doing a little tweak to the left side by the looks of things. SRM coming in this time round. DPR going to stick it out, and Andrew Dyson going to take the lead. The SRM team and Cobalt Racing cars come swarming in to the lane as they now jostle their way for position and try and find their stop markers. And you can see just how chaotic it is. Of course, there is a little thing where collision does get turned off a little bit in pit lane as Matty Ray misses his box, has to jump forwards a little bit. You do get a little bit less collision contact in the pit lane, but only when you get close to your box effectively. So you can still make contact in pit lane, and that can sometimes cost you a huge amount as well. These pit stops are not lasting long. About 7, 8 seconds for SRM there. They were in and out like a whippet with a bum full of dynamite. They were quick as you like through pit lane.
Yep. Now, as we've seen there, Carl, on that overhead shot from Matt, the guys coming in, and the other thing that they've really got to concentrate on is getting into pit lane. Over the team chat radios, they'll be saying, "I'm going to the wall. I'll stay centre." So, but that can all change too with other cars coming into the lane and taking them off their preferred lane into the pit lane.
Yeah, there's all these little things. DPR, very close moment on pit exit. Somebody coming back onto the track, and these three cars had to make a quick jink to the right to avoid contact at a very high rate of knots. And look at this, 4 DPR cars now coming into the lane. Philip Worley, did he slow it down in time, or did he get a penalty there? That would be close as you like. He was right on his marks for that one. That's going to be a great stop if he just makes it through without a penalty. This is the big thing. You can make so much time by being a little bit more aggressive, and it looks like Worley did time that to perfection. And look at how much time he's gained up. He was a good 2 or 3 car lengths behind coming into the lane. Coming out of it, he's jumped Neil Pearson.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the way that work normally works is
we're just going to see the replay here. So what was this one? This was one of the Cobalt cars. This would be coming out of the lane, did make contact with somebody. It looks like 3 wide there. And there was contact. Phil Otto. That's what we were talking about, entry and exit of pit lane, Mark. You've got to be careful. And Phil Otto got the short tail of that one.
Yep, definitely did. So just to go back to what I was going to say, is that what normally happens is so we've seen the 4 DPR cars come in. We've seen Dyson on that inside lane, and I think it was Neil Pearson on the outside lane. So Dyson was further back in pit lane, so he took the inside lane so he could peel off first and give Pearson that clean run on that outside lane, the right-hand lane, the pit lane, to get into his box. And then we've seen the 2 other guys, Philip Worley and Ireland, behind them, and they were further up pit lane, so they remained at the back.
Worley was absolutely perfect on the brakes as well. He absolutely nailed that stop. That's got to be the stop of the night for sure for Philip Worley. He was absolutely nailing that braking point. Great job. Up front, DPR lead. They got 4 cars in the mix, but they are being closed up very quickly by Lachlan Urquio, who is flying at the moment at the head of the rest of the pack at the moment. There's been a bit of a split up with these green flag stops, as you would expect. 12 laps remaining here. It is DPR versus SRM at the moment. They are going to be fighting tooth and nail to the end of this race. But you can see there's a good group of cars here with Urquio, Raymond, Phelps, Jones, JCW, Josh Carroll-Walden, Norman Clark, Riley Curtis, Dave Douglas. So a few of these drivers as well are battling for their chance to get into the playoffs. So there is a lot at stake here in that group of cars. At least 3 of them are in a position where they could win or lose a spot in the playoffs here tonight with a good finish.
Yeah, and just further back, we've got another pack with Jamie Nankervis leading that pack with Daniel Heddershide, Kobe Jordan, Guy Phelps, one of the Cobalt cars, and Stevie Dove. They're a little bit further back. They were trying to work together to catch this lead pack, and they are doing it slowly with 12 laps to go. You've got to say DPR is in the box seat at the moment.
As 2 lines are forming up the front of the field, a big run for Lockie Opio there as he gets a great run up on the high side. As so close to the wall for Matty Ray. Mr. Sheen keeping it clean there by millimetres, and he hangs his behind out and slides it through, but it's going to be them getting a huge run here. Look at the monster run they're getting on those DPR cars, and they're going to move themselves out into the lead of this race. Drop down to the low line. Ryan Jones absolutely aggressively dropping it down in front of Dyson. JCW trying to get there. Tiny little bit of contact as we've got a wreck happening in the background, and we're going to see the first caution flag of the night.
Yeah, we were in that window that I said that of that last 15 laps, as we see Dave Douglas really struggle to pull it up.
Oh, and this could be disaster for those guys coming into the playoffs, because Riley Curtis, Norman Clark, Dave Douglas have all made contact. So let's jump to the replay here. Dave Douglas pushing Riley Curtis and unsettles the car a little bit. We're going to see it here on the replay. Watch the 2 cars coming along. Riley Curtis gets a run on Norman Clark, gets up high. Dave Douglas goes for the push here, goes for the bump draft, just off centre a little bit, unsettles the back of Riley Curtis's car and pushes him down into Norman Clark, and that causes a big wreck in the background. Riley Curtis and Norman Clark, heavy damage. Dave Douglas, I think he got somewhat away with that one unscathed. Ooh, yes, he did. He was fishtailing all the way down that straight, but he did manage to pull it up in the end.
Yeah, I heard Kobe saying something. I think he may have got contact also somewhere. Something about a car coming out of nowhere. So I don't know if Matt can find that at all.
I think he was just coming up on that accident. So
yeah.
They were just coming up on that accident, that was all. So, and it was just Dave rejoining the track as Dave was fishtailing in front of him. So, yeah, that was a look. That's how quick it can happen. It does not take long for an incident to happen, and only 2 cars involved in that majorly, but 2 crucial cars. Riley Curtis, of course, he was sitting inside the playoffs by just 4 points ahead of Norman Clark. So this could be great news for somebody like Kobe Jordan. This could be an opportunity to find himself in the playoffs here tonight, or Chris. For Kobe Jordan.
Yeah. So I also just heard the lucky dog, Paul Drady. So he's now back on the lead lap. So I wouldn't even count him out from here.
No, it's been a long night, a long hard night for Paul Drady, being that lap down. The only car that is a lap down at the moment, because Nigel Tompkins has taken it behind the wall, but Paul Drady will at last get that lap back, and I know how that feels. Last night I was in a very similar position after getting caught in an early incident and finding myself a fair few laps down. And getting back onto the lead lap feels so nice at the end of a race.
Especially with under 10 to go.
That is it. We are going to have we've had about 70 laps of green flag running here at Daytona. Super Speedway action, nice and clean. Great stuff we love to see. But now it's going to become a 6-lap shootout to the end on a super speedway. I don't think we've seen our last caution, Mark.
No, I think we may see 1 or 2 more as the gloves really come off here. And I wouldn't even say don't count out overtime.
There is a very strong chance we'll see that green-white checker appearing here tonight, and that could be another thing that brings a sting in the tail for some of these drivers. We'll see how that one goes. I think it's going to be night done for Riley Curtis. Unfortunately, his car is very much kaput. That thing is not getting back out on track. Unfortunately, Norman Clark has managed to get the car back out on track, albeit with some damage. So again, Norman Clark, if he gets a good finish here, he's still on the lead lap. He could find himself in the playoffs. Unfortunately for Riley Curtis, it looks like his chance is over and done with.
Yeah, and don't forget, with Norman being a little bit damaged and he may be a little bit off pace, he's going to avoid, I think what we'll see will be a big one towards the end. So he very well could end up in that top 5 position.
Yeah, you never know. It's very easy to find yourself up there as you switch to the caravan cam. But yeah, it's very easy to find yourself back up into the pack very quickly after a big accident if you can just avoid the carnage. So it's going to be Lachlan Urquio leading us off for the first restart here tonight. It's been a very good race so far for everybody. Very well behaved stuff. But it is SRM, the Mobile Brake Mechanical sponsored cars up at the front with Urquio, Raymond, Phelps, Ryan Jones. He's sitting back there in fourth. Don't discount Ryan. He is going to be hungry for a victory to find himself with a win next to his name. But there are plenty of people out there who are in the same boat. Pace car coming round here now, and well, it's going to be a hectic couple of laps, Mark. Are you strapping yourself in?
I've had myself strapped in for about the last 10, mate.
Pace car will be peeling in as we come up to the tri-oval. It's a long old drive now, and you're going to get up there. Nerves will start to settle in. Into the restart zone they go. Urquio waits and waits and waits and goes right afterwards. Takes a nice restart there. Nice and sedate restart, and that's what you want on a super speedway. You don't want to find yourself flying out with a 40-odd, 4-car length lead at the start of the restart, because you'll just be leaving yourself open to people drafting past you. So a very nice start there from them. Matty Ray getting a little bit swamped up on the high line. That high line's dropping back a little bit, but once the momentum kicks into the high line, they will start working their way forwards. Dyson's jumped up to the top. He's decided he wants to be leading that high line as people are shuffling behind as well, trying to work out where they want to be for this run. 6 laps to go. It's all about playing high-speed chess now. Who is going to position their car perfectly? Philip Worley jumps up to the high line, leaves a gap behind them. That low line's lost a little bit of momentum. High line is going to charge their way forwards now and moves themselves up, chugging along quickly. The high line's starting to move forwards, and it is DPR up the front of the field. As you can expect, they are always there or thereabouts, and they are having a good run here at the end of this Daytona race. But SRM are not going to let them have it all their way, as there's a wreck happening in the background. As the wreck happens in the background, what happened there? Ooh, big wreck happening in the background as contact with Daniel Hederscheid and Stevie Dubb make contact in the back of the pack, and there is a huge accident down the back. And quite a few cars caught up in that one, Mark.
Yeah, unfortunately, Josh Schultz is there. He would have taken some heavy. Paul Drady on the outside? No, it looks like Raymond Jagger. So he would have copped some big damage. That's Tomlin sliding across the infield.
Yeah, Tomlin got a big whack in that one as the cars sort of slid across, and that
Oh yeah,
quite a fair few
Tom,
cars.
yeah, Tobin got a real big hit in that rear quarter. So depending how much damage is done, I think that may be his chance of making the playoffs over.
Shane Bowen got a heavy hit as well. So Shane Bowen getting a huge hit, as well as unfortunately Jai Schultz, Daniel Hederscheid, Raymond Jaeger, Brendan Henderson, and I think Phil Otto as well. He got caught up in that one as well after getting caught coming off pit lane. So it's been a rough couple of laps for Phil Otto as well. But that has really shaken things up. We said there was going to be a chance of another caution, and we were not made liars of.
No, unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast here at Daytona. You know, we can go for so long without any caution, and then just that last little bit, where guys are starting to get a little bit fatigued, and yeah, we see just a slight lack of concentration, and it's all over.
Concentration and the aggression go up. One goes up, one goes down, and then you end up with all kinds of chaos, and that's what we've just seen there. So chaos it was. Unfortunately, quite a few cars caught up in that one, and well, again, it's shaken things up. It's going to be another restart. This time it's going to be a battle with some of the other cars up there. DPR are going to have their cars up towards the front of the field. SRM also got a fair few of their cars working together as well. So there's quite a lot to play for here for these drivers. They are sitting in some really strong positions for this final run to the flag. They just need to time it to perfection and get those runs working.
Yeah, it's really a DPR versus SRM. But we got Jamie Nankervis there too in seventh spot. So if we see any type of contact between these guys at these lead six, we may see Jamie slip through and take the race win.
Sitting back in ninth position, Kobe Jordan. He could be in for a very strong finish to the season, as he could be finding himself in the playoffs. Just looking at the points quickly and doing a quick math in my head, which is a painful thing to do, I assure you. But he's sitting in a strong position in ninth position, and it could be the perfect spot to be in for this final run to the flag. So plenty of things to still come here, and it's going to be I think the aggression level is going to go up. Fisticuffs are going to come out for sure, and we are going to see a true battle to the end of this race and the end of the regular season of the ANZCAR Cup as we head into the playoffs next time out.
Well, unless we get a wreck here, I don't know if we'll see overtime, but anything is possible.
Yeah, never discount it. Never discount it at all. Anything is possible, motorsport. Anything can happen, and it usually does, as the old saying goes. So, nerves are going to be up for sure as well for a couple of those drivers. I am sure a few people are going to be sitting there just taking a deep breath. There are quite a few drivers up here that have not taken a win so far this season, and they would dearly love to get one next to their name.
Well, JCW there too is in prime position too, so keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, he would like to seal off his season with a victory, of course. And look, some of these drivers, they can't make it into the playoffs because they've not done enough races, but they would still love to get a victory next to their name and cap their regular season off with a win. It's always a nice feeling.
Yeah, definitely a great way to finish the regular season.
So it's going to...
Sorry, mate, I was just going to say, Pace Light's cars are out, so we'll go back green this time, right? Bye.
It's going to be the purple flavour of DPR, the 233 of Philip Worley leading us away. He has got the orange flavour of Dyson right behind him, and then it is Christopher Island. So we've got 3 DPR cars on the low line. To the restart zone we come, and the restart goes. Green flag is out. The final run to the flag for this round 26 of the ANZCAR Cup is underway, and a great start for the low line. They've built up a little bit of a lead over Jamie Nankervis. The Highline's trying to settle themselves up. They need to get that momentum working and shoot themselves along. If they can get themselves flying at the right time, they could easily leapfrog the rest of this pack. There's a lot of hungry cars behind them. Neil Pearson coming for a big flyer down the inside, taking it 3 wide. Looks like the midline is starting to form as people are going full aggression levels. People trying to work their way as quick as possible to the front of the field. Up front, it is Wally Dyson Island pulling a nice bit of a gap at the moment. On the high line is starting to kick in at the moment. It is Urquio and Phelps up high with Maddie Ray. Jamie Nankervis down low as the white flag will fly. Final lap of the race. Who is going to get it? The Highline's getting a great run here with Lachlan Urquio trying to chug along. Just needs to get a little bit more speed. The low line is going very well too. That Highline needs to link itself up a little bit more. They're losing momentum here. As there's contact. There's contact, a bad bump, and that's taken Urquio, Jones, and a fair few other cars out. Nankervis as well in that one, and that's going to give a good opportunity for Wally and Dyson up the front. Can Ruben Phelps get the monster draft? There's a huge wreck happening in the background. We'll jump back to that after the race is finished. Ruben Phelps is going to try and get the monster run here to the line. Dyson moves out the way. Phelps, Wally, who's it going to be? It's going to be Philip Wally taking the victory here tonight at Daytona. Philip Wally takes his first win of 2023 and second win, I think, in the ANZCAR Cup. I'm trying to think now. But takes victory here tonight. Ruben Phelps comes home in second place. Andrew Dyson in third. Maddie Ray fourth. And Joshua Carroll-Walden comes home fifth. So, a lot to unpack there because there was plenty of action going on that we did not see on our cameras. So, this is a little bit of a bad bump, I think, from Phelps into Urquio. Takes out Ireland, Nankervis, catches JCW, who goes into Ryan Jones and somehow keeps it going in the right direction for JCW. Meanwhile, behind, there is all sorts of chaos going to happen coming up to the corner. So this one, I did not see what was happening at all. There was a huge wreck happening there. I think Dave Douglas might have been going all somersaulty, and Neil Pearson as well. Oh, and Kobe Jordan into Neil Pearson, and a huge wreck there, taking out a whole heap of cars. And you just saw down on the low line a green and black car and Norman Clark just sneaking through all of that and avoiding all of the chaos and moving himself in front.
And the other lucky person there was the 129 car of Paul Drady. He was able to get through it.
That was a big recovery there for Drady and Clark as well. So some big recoveries there. But it is Philip Wally taking the win here tonight. And as I said, first win of the season as well. I'm trying to think. Wally did take a cup victory last year. I'm pretty sure he did. As I'm going back to
I think he did. I think it was a road course by memory.
It was a short track as well, I'm pretty sure.
But nevertheless, it was a great race for him.
Absolutely. Been a relatively quiet season for Wally this year. It's been taking, not been entering too many, but comes in and takes the win here at Daytona.
Yep, nice win, and very close between those top three, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely nothing in there. Ruben Phelps had a monster run, almost got it. Just managed to jump ahead of Dyson, but just didn't have enough momentum to make it up to the front. And that really did shake things up there. But a really good run to the finish there. Absolutely exciting stuff as they come across the line. And it is Philip Wally taking victory ahead of Ruben Phelps, Andrew Dyson in third, with Matty Ray coming home fourth, JCW in fifth position, Alexander Sheridan in sixth, seventh for Stevie Dub, eighth for Tristan Koch. Christopher Tomlin comes home at ninth. We were saying Christopher Tomlin's chances might be out of the window, but he's managed to get himself up inside the top 10. Paul Drady comes home 10th, Norman Clark in 11th, Daniel Hedershide in 12th, Kobe Jordan in 13th, Locke Nerquio 14th, 15th for Ryan Jones, Jai Schultz in 16th, 17th for Pearson, Fenley 18th, 19th for Nan Curvis. Ireland comes home 20th. As we roll over the page, it's Phil Otto, Dave Douglas, Brenton Henderson, Raymond Yeager, Shane Bowen, Riley Curtis, and Noddy Tompkins running out of field.
Well, very interesting race. What was it? 70 laps of green flag polite racing, and then another 10 laps of craziness, which is typical of Daytona, though.
Yep, we said, you know, they're doing very well of being nice and polite through it all, and you know, nothing too major. But then when it comes to the end, the aggression really got turned up, and well, we saw what happened as everybody got very aggressive there at the end, and we saw some great racing going on. Unfortunately, a big accident as well, which is not what we want to see. We want to see that racing, but a real fun race to the line for the top three.
Yeah, very, very entertaining. I know the after that accident, there's some not so happy people on the race radio. So, yeah, it could be some penalties coming, maybe.
Well, it will be looked at for sure, and as these things are done, they will be looked at fully, of course. So it's always the thing, and the admins and race officials will be busy at work as well, I'm sure, after the race, as is so often the case.
Yeah. The person I feel sorry for in some ways is Jai Schultz. He's actually damaged that bonnet of the dedication to Toby and and the family. So maybe he might be able to sell that off and get some money for it.
Oh, look, it's always the thing. I always find when you run a special livery, luck never comes your way.
Yeah. Look, I will say those inside lane production cars did look good tonight. I was talking to one of the team owners earlier this afternoon, Kobe, and he just informed me that it's normally around every week 13. They change up their liveries a little bit to bring in a bit of interest. So well done to them. But guys, please let us know. Because we've been caught out a few times this year, haven't we, Carl?
Absolutely. It does catch us out a little bit. Alrighty. Well, we will start off our interviews tonight with our third place finisher and the man that finished ahead of everybody else for the regular season. It is that man of the Orange 41 for DPR, Andrew Dyson himself. Dyso, welcome back to the booth, mate. Congratulations on, well, a bit of a lower step than usual. It's P3 tonight here at Daytona.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's a lower step, but yeah, it's still good to help out a mate get a W. You know, so I feel like I'm a part of it. So it's all good.
A big part of it, indeed. That final run to the line, you had a lot of work to do to stop the charging Ruben Phelps.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure what exactly was going on, but it looked like Chris behind us. He couldn't quite get on. He couldn't quite latch on, and maybe he was getting side drafted back a little bit or something like that. I couldn't quite see, but I was just too focused on pushing Whirly. But for whatever reason, yeah, it was just kind of he and I at the front tandeming, and yeah, just had to keep an eye on the mirror, I suppose, and see what was going on. In the end, the mirror wasn't going to help me, and I nearly hooked Whirly coming out the last corner too. But yeah, we hung on just.
Well, the bump drafting went better tonight than it has previously, so that's some good news.
Yeah, that was on the back of my mind. But I mean, like I said sort of last week, if you're not trying, then you're not nothing's gonna happen. So you gotta have a go. And sometimes if it goes all pear shaped, it goes all wrong, then that's just the way it is. But yeah, I had a go. And this time it worked out good. So it just goes to show you can be a good pusher and you can be a bad pusher sometimes as well. Like, it just depends on how you are on the night.
Well, it went very well tonight. Got to talk pit stops. It went very well for you on those green flag stops. You guys had it looked like you had it absolutely nailed. Obviously working together quite well in those, but you also managed to absolutely time it to perfection coming out of the garages and back on track at the right time.
I mean, yeah, it may have looked like that at the time. It probably didn't work out quite perfectly, or how exactly we envisioned it would on the way out. So, I mean, I was probably expecting that if we did have a gap, or if we were in front, we'd be able to hang on to it, but it just didn't quite work out that way. So, it would have been a proper race to the end, I can guarantee you. We were just sort of starting to sort ourselves out to try and gear up for a run towards the last few laps. So the last lap, obviously, that's the one that matters. But that yellow came out, which shook things up a little bit. So, yeah.
That is it. Well, it was a great fun watching you guys battle your way towards the front tonight. And look, final race of the regular season. It's into the playoffs next time. And how are you feeling heading into those playoffs?
It's good, man. It should be fun. It's a different format this year. So I think it's probably more important. I don't exactly know how it all works out, or I haven't really looked into how it works, the rounds and whatnot. But I mean, just as an overview, briefly sort of thinking about it, I think it's more important than ever to make sure you're at least consistent. I think if you have a bad race or two, or maybe even just one, I think, like I said, I don't know, it can probably take you out, or it can take you out of the running. So if you don't get into the next round, so that'll be a focus for everybody, I'm sure.
No, absolutely. Look, we're going to wish you luck for that, and not that you need it. Not that you need any more luck and good measurements for the racing, but it's going to be fun to see how that all shakes out. Look, congratulations tonight, Daiso. We'll make the race winner do all the hard work with the full shout outs, but personal shout outs tonight. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done to Early for keeping his nerve there, especially with the killer orange reveal behind him. So he hung on. Good work. Great race to everybody out there, especially Ruben towards the end there. I didn't see exactly what happened in the last lap. Like I said, I was focused on what happening in front of me, but there's a bit happening. So I mean, anyway, it was a good run to the line, so that was pretty good. So, and congrats to everybody as well for being green flag racing for such a long way is really good. So yeah, and thanks to you guys for putting it all on, and see you next week.
Absolutely. See you next week. That's how confident Daiso is. Look, we will see you next week. I'm sure. Congratulations tonight, mate. It won't be long until we got you back in the booth.
You will see me on the track.
Cheers, mate.
See ya.
Andrew Dyson there for DPR taking a victory tonight. Coming home from her tonight. That's thrown me off completely.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard when he's 2 steps down from where he normally is.
I know, it throws me off completely. I feel like job's done. I was just about to wrap up the show there. All right, next up, it is for SRM, a man that took his win earlier on this season, but has finished off the regular season in style, coming home P2. It's the flying Kiwi himself, Ruben Phelps. Rubes, welcome to the booth, mate. Congratulations on second place here at Daytona.
Yeah, howdy, fellas. It probably shouldn't be me up here, but it is what it is. Just a misjudgment on my part, but here I am.
Yeah, you knew what I was going to ask you about that one. Obviously, just a little bit slightly off centre with that push on Lachlan.
Yeah, I sort of was looking in my mirrors a bit too much at that point. I was looking at the bumper, looking at the mirror, sort of one eye, looking googly eye, and saw Jamie and Joshua there on the inside, and I thought I thought there was a big hole in the middle of us, so I thought, shit, they might take it, so I sort of closed it up, and of course that just put me on the wrong side of the bumper of Lockie, and I just blankly turned him, basically, so just a misjudgment on my part, but once obviously that all happened, I just put the foot down, and Matty was still there, and we just sort of went for it and had a wee battle to the line.
Absolutely. And look, that run to the line, it wasn't an easy gap to cover. You had a fair margin there, and it was just sort of an awkward position to be in as well. 2 teammates battling it out there. But you two, yourself and Matty Ray, had a really good attempt there trying to get that victory away from DPR's grasp.
Well, exactly. Like, I think throughout the race, like, you know, through our calls and as a team point, that was probably our best run when it comes to super speedways, of just being able to, you know, make a call. We stayed together. We never lost each other. I think Brenton unfortunately had somebody ruin his sort of exit coming out of the pits in one of the sort of that second to last stop that sort of took him out of it. But no, we stuck together and we, you know, did our thing, and we're in the right pointy end until unfortunately this end of turn 2. But Maddie was still there, and we still had a run at DPR. It was a good fight.
No, absolutely. Look, there's some commiserations for it at least. At least you three are through into the playoffs, so that is some good news.
Well, exactly. Like, I think the other reason why I decided to make the move, because I'm pretty sure Jamie may have been eligible, but if he filled that hole and he went through the middle of us, he may have had a good chance of winning. And of course, he's underneath, I think. But I just sort of, like I said, I made a misjudgment, and unfortunately, Lockie got taken off my bumper. So I think whoever should be on the podium, it should be him.
No, look, it's a honourable thing to say that, but just on the team quickly, pit stops tonight look like you guys absolutely had it nailed. Whenever you were coming down the lane, you were nicely grouped up with each other, and then when you were coming out of pit lane, again, you were grouped up to perfection. It looks like you've done a lot of work in practice to get that right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we probably haven't done as many pit practices as we would have liked throughout the year, but I think as the year's sort of gone on, we just got better and better and better when it comes to just, you know, pure decision making and you know, just pit entry and keeping together a lot more. We're starting to be a lot more matched in pace as well, which is, you know, vital when it comes to especially super speedways, because you need to stick together in that. And you know, if you don't have a teammate, it's very hard to, you know, keep up with it. So, and that's why you saw DPR up front and us up front, because, you know, having that 4 or 5 guys just makes a huge difference when it comes to strategy.
Yeah, that is it. It look absolutely paid off. It was great to see. It's a good finish to the season in a way, at least. Hopefully, that's some good omens though for the rest of you for the upcoming playoffs, and hopefully, we're going to see all 3 of those cars at the end of the playoffs battling it out.
Well, exactly. Like, obviously Lockie and Maddie are all in there. So, you know, get this regular season out of the way. Now the big time's all next week and beyond. So it's time to put the foot in it and get whatever we can get.
Absolutely. Look, congratulations tonight, Rubes. Before I let you go, though, the hard work of the shout out, the love to the sponsors and people in general. Go for it, mate. You've earned it.
I got to shout out ANZCAR and the league for putting it all on for the last few years and building everything around it, and of course you guys for the broadcast, and of course SRM Australia and Maddie putting all that together, and of course John Labber at Mobile Brake and Mechanical, Danny Hurley for Maid of Auckland Hotel, Raymond P. Moondog for Mood Dog, and Murphy's Mitre 10, plus our 2 charities with for, you know, obviously Lockie and Brenton is Alopecia Australia and Tourette's Syndrome Australia.
Look, thank you so much, Ruben. Congratulations tonight, and hopefully we're going to see you back in the booth in the very near future, mate.
Oh yes, we'll hopefully see a lot of the SRM boys in the podiums for the next 10 races.
That's it. You need to do a full lockout. We expect all 3 of you up here sometime soon.
1, 2, 3.
Absolutely.
4, 5.
Yeah, the whole pack. We need it all.
Pretty
Congrats,
much.
Rubens. Have a good night, mate.
Yeah, you too.
Ruben Phelps there for SRM. And finally tonight, back in victory lane, and first time on a super speedway in ANZCAR, and I think second oval in ANZCAR from a Thunder victory. I'm trying to think back now. But back in his winning ways in a cup car, it is Philip Wally. Wally, welcome to the booth, mate. Congratulations on, well, a win here at Daytona.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. It's awesome.
Well, it's we had a chat to you a few races back when you managed to get on the podium. It was good to see you back in a cup car. Doesn't get much better than taking victory, does it?
No, absolutely not. A surprising one at that. So, you know, it's awesome.
Absolute great run from yourself tonight. You really worked the car well and sort of kept yourself in a really good position all night long. I think one of the big moments for me, though, was that final pit stop you made the lateness of your braking and getting through pit lane was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I really needed to do something into pit lane and coming off it because I'd made a meal of the lap before and I actually lost Chris, Neil, and Daiso on the in lap. So yeah, I don't know how I pulled it up. To be fair, I thought I was going to be speeding. It was race over, but got lucky.
Absolutely. I was quickly glancing over to my admin page, just looking, seeing if a black flag popped up because it was so close, but you absolutely nailed that one. Really, really good effort there. And of course, pack racing, it's very different to the old road racing, but you absolutely had it there tonight.
Yeah, I would say a little bit more luck from me tonight than anything. I'm still not very good at these pack races, and the boys in disco will let you know that I had the white knuckles and the sweaty palms, and my voice was getting a bit high at the end there because I'm not used to being at the front for these pack races. But you know, the more you do, the not easier they get, the more comfortable they get.
Well, that is a big thing. It helps build the confidence when you get a victory in one of these.
Yeah, a little bit. I'll still be wary on the next one because, you know, still haven't done many of them.
Well, that's the next question, of course, because we've seen it's been you've not been around too much this season, but are we going to see you in the playoffs for a few races, coming in as a bit of a wild card?
Yeah, I'd like to race for the rest of the season. Obviously not anything to do with the playoffs, but hopefully I can help the boys when I can, and if they're not in a situation to win, and I am, hopefully I can take it away from someone else.
Absolutely, try and get some more victories underneath your belt. It is a great thing to win at Daytona, and well, doing it in style tonight. A great job indeed, Mr. Philip Wally. Congratulations! Real pleasure to have you up here in the booth, and it's really good to see you getting the win here as well. But before I let you go, look, the usual thing that we need you to do, the love, the shout out to the sponsors. It's your job being the winner. You get the hard job.
Oh, thanks, boys. Obviously, a big thank you to Performance E-Streaming for putting on the awesome broadcast, and of course ANZCAR for the amazing series that just keeps delivering, doesn't it? And to the boys in the team, especially Daiso right at the end there, keeping me calm and pushing me to the win. Big thanks to them. And our amazing partners, simrigs.com, South Olison Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, Phoenix Smokers, and of course MP Designs. Neil whips out the paints and they look amazing on the track.
They do indeed. Look, congratulations tonight, Philip. Well done indeed. Absolute great stuff. And look, hopefully we'll see you back up here in the booth in the near future, mate.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. Hope I'm up here soon too.
Philip Wally there for DPR, taking victory here at Daytona. First super speedway win, first oval win in the Cup, I'm pretty sure. And great thing indeed, of course, taking a win back in 2001, I think, in the Cup series as well. So great to see him back and back in form as well, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. A great race win, a great race overall. As I said, 70 laps at Daytona without a caution. That's pretty amazing, especially with the way the guys were racing each other. Clean but very hard.
Absolutely, it's what we love to see. And look, if you've enjoyed tonight's action, make sure to hit the subscribe button to catch more in the near future, of course. And in that near future, we have got some, V8s on the ovals coming up. Of course, it is the Australasian Supercar E Series, and that will be coming up on Sunday night. I'm going to need Matt to pipe in here to give me an idea where we're at.
That will be 80 laps from Pocono.
The good old tricky triangle. That will be fun indeed. If you've not caught that before, make sure to head over to Performance E-Stream to catch all that action because it is some absolutely mega stuff. Of course, there will be some Weekend Warriors action on Saturday night, Mark.
Yeah, round 2 of the Triple Crown from Dover, 250 laps. So a nice long one, and hopefully who takes the jump in the Triple Crown.
Absolutely. You can catch that all over on Checkered Flag e-streaming. And then, of course, we will be back for the first race of the playoffs at Darlington. It's a very different track indeed for the ANZCAR Cup, off to the Lady in Black, the very tricky track of Darlington. We hope we can all see you there. But for myself, Mr. Carl Wilkinson, with you, of course, Mark Johansson and Matt Hunter, we're going to wish you all a very good night indeed. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.